Space was silent. Death, on the other hand, came with light. A column of sapphire plasma struck the TSV Valor mid-hull, splitting the Terran survey vessel in two. The bridge vaporized instantly, 143 crew members incinerated in less than a second. No message. No warning. Just annihilation. The last thing transmitted before the feed went dark, a gasp, a flicker of static, and the distant voice of Lieutenant Cale Vance. Something's wrong. It's gone. The memorial hall was too clean. Too quiet. Polished steel walls reflected rows of black uniformed officers, each standing at attention. Commander Elara Vance stood alone beneath the holoscreen displaying the Valor's final location, a cold pinpoint in the Epsilon Eridani system. She didn't blink as her brother's name appeared on the list of casualties. Cale Vance. Status, deceased. Protocol, Kia. Honors pending. The words meant nothing. He was a bright mind, a systems engineer who believed in diplomacy, who thought humanity could build without needing to destroy. And they'd melted him like a piece of scrap. Rear Admiral Juno stepped beside her. We recovered nothing. The Syltari left no debris, no trace. Elara didn't look at her. I don't care about debris. You know what this means. I know exactly what it means, Elara said coldly. They want war. They just got it. 2 hours later, she sat in the war room. Cold blue light spilled across the circular table, where planetary leaders argued in a dozen languages and dialects. The Syltari transmission had been decoded, brief, alien, clinical. Subject, threat identified. Precautionary elimination initiated. No names. No negotiation. President Hale of the Pacific Coalition leaned forward. We need time. This is first contact, we can't afford a misstep. They vaporized a science crew, snarled General Toma. We don't need diplomats. We need retribution. We need a commander, said Juno. She turned to Elara. We need someone who understands war and doesn't flinch. The table fell silent. Elara didn't hesitate. Assign me Task Force Revenant. I'll make sure they regret ever seeing Earth. For days later, orbiting Earth, aboard the TSS Ironsong. The Revenant fleet hung like wolves in the void, sleek, brutal, fast. Fighters, carriers, stealth frigates all aligned in formation. Elara stood on the bridge, helmet under one arm, her dark braid tucked into her collar. Tactical readouts flickered in front of her eyes. A heartbeat pulse of red blips marked Syltari activity in the fringe systems. Lieutenant Soren, her XO, approached. The fleet's ready. Jump coordinates locked. Comms open. Channel's yours. She stepped forward, voice steady. This is Commander Vance. For days ago, an unarmed Terran vessel was obliterated without cause. The Syltari Dominion didn't ask questions. They didn't send terms. They burned us in silence. She paused. The bridge was still. But they forgot what we are. We are humans. We don't kneel. We adapt. We survive. And when we fight, we end wars. She turned to Soren. Initiate jump. The stars stretched and snapped. In the blink between moments, the fleet vanished. Briefing room, en route to Syltari border. A flickering projection of a Syltari drone shimmered in the air. It was unlike anything they'd seen, curved carapace, faintly translucent, no eyes. It pulsed with energy. Intelligence says their ships are partially organic, said Soren, frowning. Plasma weaponry that generates heat signatures 4 times hotter than anything in our arsenal. Elara folded her arms. And we can't outgun them. No. Then we don't fight fair. She pulled up a schematic, tight orbital assault plans. Hit and run. Jammed signals. EMP spikes. Cripple, board, take control. We fight like animals. Like nightmares. No open field honor duels. This is war. Soren gave a short nod. Understood. Later, alone in her quarters, Elara stared at the faded photo of her and Kale. He had that crooked smile, forever frozen in a world that no longer existed. She remembered the last comm they shared, his voice crackling with static. "Still think you're the cool twin?" he joked. She hadn't said goodbye. She thought there'd be another call. Another day. Now there was only this mission. Her fingers trembled for a moment. Then she clenched them into a fist and placed the photo into the locker. 16 hours later, outer Syltari border. The Revenant fleet dropped out of FTL in silence. The Syltari outpost ahead looked peaceful, curving towers of alien alloy, glowing softly in the void. "They won't expect retaliation this fast," said Soren. "They won't expect us at all," Elara replied. "Orders? No survivors." The strike began. Coordinated EMP bursts crippled the station's outer defenses. Shock troopers launched in zero-G pods, landing directly onto the hull with magnetic clamps. Plasma cutters carved through the alien alloy. Inside, Syltari defenders scrambled, confused, uncoordinated. Elara stormed the breach first, rifle braced, eyes scanning. A Syltari warrior lunged from the shadows, tall, insectal, arms like knives. She dropped it with 2 rounds to the thorax, never breaking stride. Screams echoed through the corridors, both human and alien. A moment later, the reactor went critical. The Revenant fleet pulled back just before the explosion swallowed the station in a silent blaze. Elara stood on the bridge again, watching the wreckage spiral into nothing. Soren turned to her. "That's one for Kale." She didn't answer. She was already planning the next move. That night, she recorded a message. To the Syltari Dominion, she said into the lens, voice low and sharp. "You fired first. Without warning. Without mercy. We are your answer. We are what comes next. You thought we would break. Instead, we built fleets. You thought we would mourn. We built weapons." She leaned forward. "Now we build your extinction." Transmission ended. And so did peace. The outposts remained still drifted when the second strike began. Task Force Revenant moved like a phantom, no broadcasts, no formation lights, no mercy. Their next target, a Syltari relay station tethered to a fractured moon in the Trian Verge, a critical node in the enemy's communication lattice. The mission wasn't destruction, it was disruption. Cut the head, watch the body flail. Inside her command chamber aboard the TSS Iron Song, Commander Elara Vance studied the scans. Syltari forces were adapting, tightening defenses, shifting patterns, reacting faster. "They're learning," said Lieutenant Soren, tapping through the relay's defense array. "We hit them once. They're not going to let us do it twice." Elara nodded. "Then we don't do it the same way." The assault was brutal. Terran ships decloaked at the relay's blind angle, just above the moon's magnetic shadow. EMP darts fired seconds before boarding pods hit metal. The Syltari scrambled, weaponry humming with high-frequency plasma bursts, but by the time they aligned targeting arrays, Terran Marines were already inside. It was close quarters. No long-range elegance, just hissing corridors, blood-spattered bulkheads, and the smell of scorched air. Elara moved through it all like a scalpel, precise, fast, lethal. She slammed a Syltari drone against the wall, driving her blade between its plating and twisting hard. The thing screeched, light dimming from its glassy core. Behind her, Corporal Nyla shouted, "Left flank." 2 more incoming. Elara pivoted, aimed, fired. The hallway fell silent again. 10 minutes later, they had the relay under control. "Upload the payload," she ordered, panting slightly through her helmet filter. A Marine jammed a Terran virus into the Syltari core, an AI-designed data bomb built to fracture their comms system. A slow poison, not a loud bang. Soren's voice crackled through comms. "We've tapped their channel. Intercepting a priority message, routing it now." A voice played. Not mechanical. Not robotic. Cold, deliberate, disturbingly calm. Advanced directive, deploy bioweapon to human fringe colony, designation, Andarian 5. Objective, psychological erosion. Secondary, contain specimen integrity. Elara froze. Andarian 5. A civilian research colony. Non-combatants. Families. The rest of the crew heard it, too. Repeat that, she said. Soren did. The words hit just as hard the second time. Later, on the bridge, the mood was grim. They're skipping military targets, Nyla said. Going straight for the soft tissue. They want fear, Soren added. They want to shatter us from the inside. Elara stared at the star map. Her orders were clear: cripple Syltari infrastructure, press deeper. But this changed everything. Options, she asked. Hold course, hit their industrial belt. It's working, said Soren. Or redirect half the fleet to Andarian. We might be able to stop the attack. She didn't speak for a moment. Two paths, one irreversible. They're testing a weapon, she said finally. Something new. They want to see what it does to us. If we turn back, we lose momentum. If we don't turn back, civilians die. She opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Vance. I'm altering the mission parameters. A pause. She could feel the weight of ears on her words. The Dominion has targeted Andarian 5 for a biological strike. Civilians. Scientists. Children. If we allow it, we're not soldiers, we're monsters pretending to be better than them. She exhaled. We will split the task force. Strike Wing A continues pressure on the Syltari core. I will personally lead Wing B to defend Andarian. There was no applause. Just a quiet click as the message ended, and hundreds of pilots adjusted their course without protest. The jump to Andarian was short. The terror was not. They arrived to find a fleet of Syltari vessels already in orbit, silhouetted against the gas giant's pale ring. Not sleek destroyers, these were bulbous, asymmetrical ships, pulsing with bioelectric energy. They're not designed for combat, Soren noted grimly. They're delivery systems. The moment the Terran ships appeared, the Syltari deployed. From the enemy vessels, spore pods dropped through the atmosphere, thousands of them. Inside, viral carriers. Engineered parasites. Alive. Interceptors, launch now, Elara barked. Burn every drop before it hits the ground. The sky lit up with intercept fire. Elara's shuttle punched through the thinning upper atmosphere, chasing one cluster of pods that had slipped the perimeter. The colony below was a sprawling science hub, greenhouses, biodomes, power arrays. Civilians were already evacuating to shelters. Soren's voice cut in. We've lost 3 domes. No confirmation on breach status. Elara didn't wait. Boots hit dirt. Her squad deployed fast, for soldiers moving through the humid corridors of Dome 9. The smell hit first. Metallic. Rotten. Movement ahead, Nyla whispered, rifle raised. They turned the corner and saw them, colonists on the floor, convulsing. Twitching. Something moved beneath their skin. Then the screaming started. Contact. It's breaking through. A colonist's chest burst outward in a spray of blood. A slithering, translucent organism flailed from the cavity. It hissed and lunged, fast, intelligent. Elara put it down with 3 sharp bursts, but another dropped from the ceiling. A blur. Teeth. Acid. Then silence. It took 6 hours to cleanse the dome. They found survivors. A few. Shaking. Bloody. Alive. The bioweapon worked fast, but it didn't spread without direct contact. That was the one small mercy. As the last fires died out, Elara stood in the ruins, helmet under one arm, eyes burning from smoke and loss. Soren arrived beside her, visor scarred. We stopped the worst of it. 72% of the colony intact. And the rest? He hesitated. Gone. Elara nodded slowly. They didn't just want to kill us. They wanted us to see what we'd become. She turned to face him fully. No more warnings. No more retreats. We hit back. And this time, we don't stop. Hours later, the Iron Song received an encrypted transmission from Syltari space. A new voice. Clearer. Cooler. Calculating. I am Archon Vadran. You are not evolved enough to grasp what lies ahead. But you must be contained. For your sake, and ours. Elara stared at the screen. A slow, dangerous smile touched her lips. Let's see who contains who. The TSS Iron Song drifted in the dark, hidden in the gravity well of a collapsed moon. Around it, the rest of Wing B remained in low-power stealth mode, engines cold, lights off. Elara Vance stood alone in the mission hub, eyes locked on the incoming data stream. Her pulse stayed steady. Her hands didn't shake. But her jaw clenched slightly as she replayed the message again. You must be contained. For your sake, and ours. Archon Vadran. A title, not a name. Voice like glass cutting through silk. Arrogant bastard, muttered Soren beside her. Doesn't even see us as a threat. Elara exhaled slowly. Good. Underestimation is a weapon. New intel had come in from the recovered Syltari relay. Deep layers. Fragments of files half scrambled by their own encryption. But one thread stood out, coordinates in the Velith Rift, unmarked, off-grid, hidden even from Syltari's standard navigation. Elara pulled it onto the main display. This is where the bioweapon was born. Soren frowned. Underground research base? Forward lab? No. Elara zoomed in, adjusted the filter. This isn't a lab. It was a vault. Buried in the ice of a dead planet. Pre-Syltari origin markers. Sealed long before their species rose. They didn't build it, she said, voice low. They found it. And now they're afraid we'll unlock it. She handpicked the infiltration team. No large ships. No fleet. Just a black dagger corvette called Spectre, built for speed and silence. The approach was clean, cold, long, silent. Not even a whisper of enemy scans. But when they landed on the frozen rock and stepped into the vault, silence turned to dread. Elara's boots echoed down ancient metal halls lined with glyphs no human AI could decipher. Not Syltari design, sharper, older, laced with warnings. Inside, there were preserved remains. Skeletons, massive and alien. Long extinct. And at the vault's core, machines. Half living, half still. Breathing slowly with a pulse too mechanical to be natural. Nyla wiped a layer of frost off a black console. Is this where they made the parasite? No, Elara whispered. This is where they found it. Or it found them. A shriek tore through the darkness. Not human. Not Syltari. They spun around. One of the Marines went down screaming, dragged into the dark by something too fast to see. Soren fired into the shadows. Contact. Flank left. A blur of limbs burst from the ceiling. Elara dropped to a knee, fired once, center mass. The creature hit the ground twitching. Not a parasite. Not Syltari. Something in between. Secure the vault, she ordered. Recover what we can, torch the rest. Back aboard the Spectre, the pieces started connecting. Recovered logs from the vault detailed a warning, an intelligence beyond the Syltari, beyond humanity. A mind trapped here long before either species crawled into space. The Syltari hadn't struck humanity out of dominance. They struck out of fear. We're not the infection, Elara murmured. We're the trigger. Soren shook his head. They think we'll wake something. They think we are what wakes it. They returned to the fleet. No fanfare. No welcome. Just grim faces, burning questions, and a single certainty, This wasn't just a war for territory. It was a war for control, of knowledge, of power, of history buried in silence. Elara stood on the Ironsong's bridge again, as the main screen lit up with a direct channel, Syltari priority code. Vadron's face appeared for the first time. Humanoid only in silhouette, but wrong in every detail, eyes too narrow, mouth unmoving when he spoke. "You saw it," he said. No accusation. Just fact. Elara folded her arms. "We did. And now we understand you. You don't fear us because we're dangerous. You fear us because we're not afraid of what's out there." Vadron blinked once. "You are reckless." "We're human," she said. "We don't seal vaults. We open them." He studied her for a long moment. "You will bring extinction." "No," she said coldly. "You fired first. We bring consequence." Hours later, the fleet mobilized. Wing had struck deep into Syltari territory, drawing their navy into full-scale conflict. The time for subtlety was over. The Terran coalition authorized a multi-front assault, military hubs, bioresearch facilities, and finally, the Syltari Central Command. The Dominion's heart. Elara stood before her fleet, eyes burning with purpose. "We've seen what they fear. We've seen what they hide. They think fear is strength. But we know better." She stepped forward. "We came from one planet. One species. No gods. No ancient empires. Just will. Just rage. Just us." The final battle began with fire. It didn't feel like triumph. It felt like release. Dozens of Syltari ships burned in orbit. Their command spire cracked, molten at the edges. The Dominion collapsed, not from overwhelming firepower, but from unpredictability. From fury. From the fact that humans refused to fight like anyone else. Elara walked through the wreckage of the command hall, plasma pistol still warm in her hand. Vadron was there. Wounded. Broken. But alive. "You don't understand," he rasped. "I don't need to," she replied. "I just needed you to stop." She turned to go. "Something still sleeps in that vault," he called. "And you will wake it." She paused. Looked over her shoulder. "Then we'll deal with that too." Back aboard the Ironsong, she watched Earth come into view, small, blue, far too fragile to hold the force that had just shaken the stars. Soren joined her at the viewport. "You think they'll ever forgive us for what we did out here?" She shook her head. "They'll never know half of it. But they'll know we won," he said. Elara didn't smile. "We didn't win. We survived. That's enough, for now." He was silent. "Then, in the vault?" She turned away from the window. "We seal it. For good?" No, her voice was flat. "Certain. For later." And in the deep, frozen dark of that distant moon, something ancient stirred. Not because it was called, but because it had heard humanity's voice. And it was listening.